There are things women think about during intimacy that they'll never put into words. Not because they don't trust you or because they don't want you to know, but because the world has trained them to stay quiet, to smile politely, to go along, to let pleasure be something given, not something asked for. And so, even when they crave something with every cell of their body, they keep it locked inside. They don't say it out loud, not because it doesn't matter, but because it matters too much. That's why most men never hear these truths. But if you knew them, if you truly understood what's hidden beneath the surface, everything would change. Not just how you touch her, but how she remembers you. Because the greatest lovers aren't always the most skilled. They're the ones who make her feel deeply understood without needing her to explain a thing. So today we're going to break that silence. Not by guessing, not by assuming, but by telling the truth, gently, clearly, and with care. These are 5 things women want in bed but almost never say out loud. If you can give her these, you won't just satisfy her. You'll reach her where words never could. 1. She wants to be wanted, not just physically but emotionally, spiritually, completely. There's a difference between being used and being desired. Between being touched and being treasured. She knows the difference. Every woman does. When you look at her like she's a checklist, she might go along with it, but she'll feel invisible. But when you look at her like she's a secret you're aching to discover, like her soul matters as much as her skin, something inside her melts. What women want is not just to be touched but to be seen, in the kind of way that makes them feel safe, shedding every layer. Desire without presence is empty. But when a man brings attention, intention, and curiosity to the moment, it turns intimacy into art. And she'll never forget how you made her feel that night. 2. She wants you to listen, to her silence, to her breath, to the spaces between her words. Women communicate in subtle shifts. The way their hips move, the way their breathing changes, the way their hands search for yours. But too many men are stuck in their own heads, too busy trying to perform to actually feel. She wants you to notice the unspoken. She wants you to slow down, to pause, to sense. Not every yes sounds like a yes. Not every silence means comfort. A woman who trusts you enough to be quiet is offering you something sacred. The truth beneath language. The man who listens with his whole body, who doesn't rush to the next act but stays fully present. That man touches her in ways she didn't know she could feel. 3. She wants time, not just in minutes but in attention. Foreplay is not a warm-up. For many women it is the main event. It's not about technique. It's about building energy, building tension, building trust. Every time you rush, every time you skip, every time you treat it like an obligation, a piece of her shuts down. But when you treat each moment like it matters, when you explore her with reverence, when you let things unfold rather than forcing them to happen, she blossoms. Not because you're doing something right, but because you're doing something real. For she wants to feel adored after, not just during. Many men underestimate what happens after the moment ends. They roll over, check their phones, fall asleep, or detach completely. Not realizing that for her, the most vulnerable part isn't just the act itself but what comes after. The quiet. The stillness. The return to reality. She's wondering, even if she doesn't say it, was I just a moment or am I still a person in his arms? What women crave more than a climax is continuity. The feeling that the connection doesn't vanish with the last breath. When you hold her close, stroke her hair, whisper something gentle, you're telling her, you're safe here. You matter even when it's over. That moment may seem small to you, but for her it's everything. It's the part that turns a night into a memory. 5. She wants to be allowed to want. This may be the most silent truth of all. For generations, women have been shamed for expressing desire, called names, judged, ridiculed, or made to feel dirty. So even when they're burning inside, they often suppress it. They wait for permission, wait for a signal that it's okay to want more, to take initiative, to explore. She's afraid of being too much. Too wild. Too loud. Too eager. But deep down she wants to be unleashed. Not just accepted but celebrated for her hunger. When a man creates space for that, when he looks at her not with shock or judgment but awe, she'll show him a version of herself that no one else has ever seen. Not because she has to, but because she finally feels free. So why don't women say these things out loud? Because too often when they do, they're misunderstood. They're told they're too sensitive, too needy, too complicated. But the truth is they're not asking for much. They're asking for connection, presence, safety, respect. Things that go far beyond the physical and yet make the physical unforgettable. If you're the kind of man who can offer that, not through grand gestures but through small, sincere moments, you'll become more than a partner. You'll become her safe place. The one man who didn't just touch her body, but heard the language of her soul. Remember this. Great lovers don't memorize techniques. They study her. They show up with presence, not pride. They give without rushing. They listen without needing words. And most importantly, they never stop learning. Because every woman is a universe. And the man willing to explore her with patience, depth, and reverence will never be forgotten. Now maybe you're wondering, where do I start? Start with attention. Start with slowing down. Start with the question, how can I make her feel safe enough to be herself? And from there, everything opens.